The countdown to the Galactic Championships is officially on as we have the regional qualifiers in Minneapolis this past weekend in the rear view. Today, we're here to talk about the event, break down the top 8, talk about some cool decks, and most importantly, we get some on-hand, boots on the ground, first-hand experience from two guys, starting with Kyle. Kyle, welcome back in. How you doing?
Hey, man. Yeah, I'm doing great. Fresh getting home after the experience there in Minneapolis. Had a really good time. I thought overall it was a step up from our Colorado, event that we had here just a couple months ago. It seems FFG and crew have been applying some of what they've learned from these previous events. And I thought this event was overall more enjoyable than the previous events. Also, we ended up meeting some people who've actually I guess watched a couple of these podcasts, one of our half a dozen viewers. So, that was really cool to get to meet some people and participate in the event and, do pretty well. I will mention that one of our teammates, Alex, was out there with us. What do you think overall, Sharkey?
I had a great time with this one, actually. And as much fun as it was to play in your home turf, the Minneapolis one definitely was a significantly better experience this time around. It was a lot of fun. And like you said, it was fun to meet about half a dozen of our viewers, which might be all of them at this rate, but we're working on it.
Well, you know what? It's like it's almost like you have to get better each time you go out, right? Whether you're playing SWU, podcasting, or throwing an event like that, if you're not learning from those experiences and not taking that feedback on board, that's how a game starts to slowly dwindle and decline, right? So it's awesome that there's some positive steps there. Really great turnout as well. Biggest event on US soil so far, which is great. We're still behind the EU people, but we can blame population density for that. They'll have to come over here for the Galactic Championships and they'll be on our turf. They'll be jet lagged. They'll be all those things, right? So, and maybe they haven't been to Vegas before too, so they get that influence, right? But yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about today. I had a little FOMO, not as much as expected, because we had some great coverage over the weekend from C-Raptor, Late Night Gaming, and Macklunky. I was able to watch games all weekend, right? So you guys were the boots on the ground. I was the eye in the sky, checking all the data out, getting some cool stuff together, which was really cool. It was really great to be able to watch not actually watch all of your games, both of you on stream once, but just, watching through Melee, talking in our Discord with everybody. Like I said, Alex, or like Kyle said, Alex was there as well. Alex went on an absolute heater, starting off real hot, ended in 6-3. Sharky, you were 6-3, and then Kyle, you ended up at 9-4 in a 33rd place, I think it was, or was it 23rd? The Melee app was a little broken.
33rd. I'll remember that well because the prize cutoff was at 32. So yeah. I got to do my little walk of shame up to the prize booth and one spot too low to get what I needed. But I did earn the look at the fancy shiny ray.
Yeah, so I'll put it full screen so people can get your validation.
That's right. Thank you.
We have a whole channel.
Take us behind the curtain at this point. We do have a channel at our Discord, inspired by Kyle's lovely wife Jillian. Kyle needs validation. It's a channel to post all stuff that Kyle likes. So that's just par for the course here on the podcast, which is great. But yeah, great run overall. Really excited to talk about it. Alex isn't here, so we'll just hit on his stuff a little early. He was playing Vader. And usually he's really more of an off meta guy, but he really buckled down and got a lot of reps in with his deck and had a great showing. So shout out to him. But Kyle, I know you complained about your prize cutoff, but I think Alex has you beat in that
Alex has him beat
because he ended up in 65th place. One shy of the cutoff for day 2, and man, when I saw that, I was just like, oh geez, like it's literally a bad beat. It's like you got 9 legs in a parlay and you're about to hit the 10th for a bunch of cash, and all of a sudden, boom, right? What was it like when he realized that in person? Not maybe he won't watch this section of the podcast, but what was that like, Sharky?
Oh man, it was funny because he's actually very happy to be there in the first place. This is the best he's done in any particular tournament, and to show the improvement that he has, he was very, very excited for. On top of that, he was very excited to wear my Bubbles jersey because he was the bubble this time.
Yep.
And so I lent it to him for basically just the rest of the weekend. Yeah, of course, he would like to be in 64th and not 65th, but overall, he was very happy to have been there, and he had a good time too.
Yeah, just an absolute great run for him. And then Sharkey, yourself, we'll pull up your deck here in a second, but you had some ups and downs to the day. You had you ended up strong at 6-3. Only Cad Bane Lake Country in the field, the only Cad on vacation. Was that surprising to you at all, or no?
Yeah, it turns out I'm the only idiot who wants to run that base with Cad, but it performed about as well as I expected. I was, in my estimation, 2 cards or 2 plays off of just being 8-1, and I know that doesn't quite line up with matchups and stuff like that. But like seriously, the games I lost outside of one matchup were extremely close. Could have gone either way. In a lot of cases, I had many outs to draw and didn't draw them, or I maybe I've resourced somewhere along the way wrong. I haven't gone back and fully reanalyzed everything other than the one I was on stream for, but generally the deck performed great, and I don't know that I would change a lot about the deck immediately. I haven't done a whole lot of thinking about this one just yet. I haven't cycled back, but it was a great deck. It performed very well for me, and I would run it again. Yeah,
so we have it pulled up on screen for you guys now. The 34 HP is that trade-off between killing something on first turn, right? So how many times did that come up, right? Because obviously as we go through the top 8 today, we'll see that the runner-up for this event was a Cad Darkentown. So it shows that like the leader is totally viable. You know, like it's not, we're not too far off. But do you feel like that extra HP was more helpful or hurtful in these situations?
I don't know that I would classify it as either more helpful or more hurtful. It kind of just frames the way you have to approach the early game to the deck. And what I mean by that is typically your first move is to play a unit in Tarkentown. And that's not always the case, but that's generally the first thing you think about doing. Or you save it for a particular unit you know will show up later so you can Tarkentown that one. You don't have that luxury with Lake Country. However, there are enough ways to do that same amount of damage to control the board in the mid to late game. Plus, you have 9 more health to get to that late game. And so it's a little bit more of balancing your resourcing versus what you might see later versus how you control the board. Just takes a little bit of different sequencing than you do with Tarkentown. Now, I will say the very first game I played was against a Darth Vader Data Vault. And I believe I ended that game at 33 damage. So when you ask, like, did it help? Clearly it did in that situation. I don't believe that I would have gotten that game win without the extra health. Now, I can't account for when Tarkentown would have shown up and maybe given me more control, but like that's a good example, a very easy example to see right away that the 34 health was at least useful in the way I was playing the deck.
Yeah. So we talked about the base enough. What were the true all-stars of the deck? Anything really stand out or any other underperformers conversely?
So Relentless Pursuit is a significant card and a very good card in a lot of matchups that you are losing Tarkentown on. So Relentless Pursuit helps clear the board and give something a shield.
Got it.
Surprisingly, the Guerrilla Soldiers were really good. And I'd say that surprisingly because it's not something I see run by too many other Cad Banes at the moment. But it's not zero. The other card that I will probably take to my grave with me until it retires is Surprise Strike. In all cases, that card has been super good for every kind of use case I can come up with it. Those are probably the big 3 outside of the obvious like CAD unit and the Bash Brothers. Every time I played the Bash Brothers, I believe I won, at least when they were out there together. The Bash Brothers being Forlom and Zuckuss. So if you're not familiar with that term. And actually, I know I'm naming half the deck at this point, but now there are 2 of them was very good for me in refilling a board. I won't talk too much on that one right now because the guy who played Tarkentown in the finals was also using it very well to do similar kind of tactics that I was trying to do throughout the day.
Yeah, even as much as getting one resource. Sorry, Kyle.
Yeah, I was just going to say that was the surprise to me, actually. So the guy who finished in the finals, is his name John? I want to get his name correct.
Ray, I think.
Ray. You're totally right. It's Ray. Yep. And so I actually played Ray. He was my final opponent on day 1. He ended up getting me 2-1. If I could have just drawn a record, darn it. Anyway, he surprised me with the now there are 2 of them. Yeah, I feel like now there are 2 of them in my head had gone a little out of favor with these CAD decks. So I didn't play around it as I typically would have back when it was really, like in those decks. It was a bit of a surprise to me to see it come back. I guess I should have known with Sharkey already playing it, but when it's good, it's really good, right? Yeah. And so it can give you that tempo, it can get you ahead, especially into like a Sabine, right? If they can slam a bigger unit faster than I have a way to deal with it, it can close you out.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the keys to the meta right now. Like, you don't want to play fair, right? Like,
Absolutely.
you want to do unfair things. And like I was mentioning, I saw on stream multiple times, both when Sharkey and Ray use now there are two of them to save one resource, right? Like on 3 to play Forlom. Like, it's functional. Generally, I would say, and I'll be honest here, I'm a little more down on that sort of interaction, but over the past like month or so, as the meta has shifted, it is a reality of what you have to do, I think, right? And, you know, whether it is an inconsistent thing, because you need to have certain circumstances. And Sharky, there was even a moment in your game where you almost missequenced by deploying your CAD leader first, as opposed to going, now there are two of them, underworld unit and then CAD, and you know, and you caught yourself. But that's how it works sometimes. So and if you want to dive deeper into the deck, you check out Carlos's channel, Yoda Killer. We'll actually talk about one of his decks a little later on in the podcast. Him and Sharky did a deep dive into Lake Country on the Hyperspace Cube YouTube channel. Okay, Kyle, you had a really, really strong run, as well as we'll pull up the Sabine list for you right here. You know, I gotta say, from the outside, I got two major comments, right? Because I'm like your Sabine brother in arms, kind of, as we talk about these things, at least, you know, mentally, as we imagine. First note is the game that you played on Macklunky's stream against Anakin Blue. Hell of a game. Just hell of a match. Like,
it was awesome.
Back and forth. I invite everybody to go watch it. I'll put the links in the show notes. Try to get a timestamp for you all as well. We had great commentary from Josh from Next Gen and Tower Number 9, and you just fought and fought and fought and got the win there. Second note, really, really felt bad for you on how many Han Greens you had to run into. Especially on day 2. Like, I'm sitting here just like, yeah, let's go. We're live. Go team, CCC. And then I see Han Green, Han2 Data Vault, it just, you know, sometimes you just don't get that matchup luck.
Yeah, we talked about it in our last episode, kind of what deck was I going to play. And there was kind of two components to it, right? I'm a Qi'ra player, typically, right? And in my head, Qi'ra was the right deck. Right. And I feel validated by Wu, you know, in that thought winning. Congratulations to Wu, the Qi'ra master. Right. He took it all the way home. So, you know, in the end, the winning deck was Qi'ra. But there was a couple of things that I had, you know, my thought process was, well, I don't want to play Qi'ra because my stomach can't take play in the mirror. I can't do it. In fact, I ran into Wu and he had asked me what got me off Qi'ra, and I told him it was the mirror, and he had already played 3 Qi'ra mirrors. Mm-hmm. Now he's I think he welcomes the mirror, and he had won all 3 of them, right? So it's just something that I didn't want to take on. So my thought process is, well, what deck do I bring then? If there's going to be a lot of Qi'ras and I don't want to play the mirror, what do I feel good into Qi'ra with? The data shows that Qi'ra beats Sabine, but I feel good with Sabine into Qi'ra, and I did run into Qi'ra Data Vault, and I got the win, right? So, you know, I decided to go with Sabine. We had a good run. You know, I thought if I could bring Sabine, the deck I want to avoid is Han Green, right? And I figure if there's going to be a lot of Sabines, hopefully they're going to hold down the Han Greens, and then I can get the Sabines. That was the plan, right? And that worked. Day 1, I did take a loss to a Han Green. Let's see, I think his name is Jeremiah from the Unplayable channel. Mm-hmm. Really awesome guy. Gave me a sticker. I don't have it in front of me. I'd show it off. But, you know, I got to play him. He was awesome. But, you know, he was on Han Green, stomped me, right? So, but that was all right. Going into game 2, it's like, hey, or day 2, if I can avoid the Han Greens, we got a shot here. Yeah. You know, we got a shot. And then I got Han Green, and Han Green again.
And then you sat down.
It was rough. I got one of them. Although the Han Green I beat was not playing Holler. So, you know, I think I had a chance there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, we got to think of some lines. You know, Han Green just demolishes Sabine. There might be some ways to handle this, some adjustments to make to the deck, but even then, it's not going to be a good matchup. So, you know, that's how the cookie crumbles, right? If I could have avoided the Hans, I think maybe we could have gotten there, but it was not meant to be. But as far as the deck goes, I think it ran hot. I think obviously Sabine is still right there in the meta today. Maybe a couple tweaks with what people are playing out there we could talk through, but you know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So we got some changes. Kyle's been testing some stuff since the event. We'll go through that. Then we'll hit the top 8 and talk about Wu and all that good stuff. Here we go with the list. So Kyle, basically you were saying that you are taking out and my screen share was a little messed up there. You're taking out Wing Leader for Red 5, right? Talk about that a little bit. Is that specifically for the hauler, or is that just a fight in space in general?
This might be more for like a Han2. Overall, I just didn't feel good playing Wing Leader. There was a lot of situations where I just didn't want to put it on the table. You know, maybe I was going to be taking a poor trade with it if I had it out there. Maybe I knew they were going to kill the unit that I was going to buff. I just wanted another body to be able to fight in space. But there was several situations where I was looking at the board and thinking, man, they're just taking chip damage here, and a Red 5 would help me push the advantage, but also maybe help clean up or help me fight in space a little bit better. You know, maybe in the mirror, some other situations. It's just a better body that can help me keep cleaning up. And I just felt like Wing Leader underperformed. So this is what I'm going to try here for a little bit.
Yeah, and I think it's just a good card. Like it's shown its value in Quinlan. It's shown its value in Han2 Data Vault. Like there's some cool things you could do with this, and just being able to fight in space right now is pretty important. Then you have Chewie heading to the sideboard in favor of having Fighter's Freedom in addition to Sundari in the main deck.
Yeah, Chewie, just about every matchup went straight to the sideboard. In fact, there was only one time all day I went for the Chewie pilot play, and it was in my Qi'ra matchup, and I got immediately confiscated, right?
Oh.
I was trying to high roll it. I had game one. I was trying to high roll game two. He got me, right? We ended up getting him in game three. Chewie I just never wanted to put him down, right? It just didn't seem to be a good situation. I think I got him on the ground maybe once, but Fighters for Freedom was something that I found I was constantly boarding in, right? A lot of shielded units out there. I might want to be ECLing it in. One of the cards we're going to talk about here next, that was one of my favorite cards, was Timely Intervention, which is awesome over and over. In fact, we're going to go from 2 to 3, right? We had to find some space, right? So we're going to take a Heroic Sack out. Although I will say Heroic Sack straight up won me a game, so it's going to stay at least in the sideboard. But if I'm going to go up to 3 Timelies, I want more good Timely targets, right? And that might be Fighters for Freedom into a shielded unit. That might be that Red 5, right? If they've got a damage unit, I can hit a space unit, hit something else with it, that sort of thing. Timely just over and over. I either wanted it in my hand or in my row all the time.
And one thing we saw, and we'll talk about it a little later, is the rise of Vader Yellow. The Bothan team put on a clinic, putting that deck together, and you guys could talk to that a little bit. But I think one of the keys for Sabine to maintain an edge in that matchup is to ambush a lot of ships, right? And that's with ECL. That's using multiple Timelies. I might be one of the bigger Timely truthers inside.
You have been for a while.
You know what I mean? Like I'm playing it, you know, and I've never run 3, especially main deck in this. So I'm down. I'm down for the cause. It seems very cool. I've always been I always have it like lean towards heroic in the side. That's just kind of always, I don't want to kill my own unit unless it's like literally to kill somebody like, you know, a DJ or something like that, or to win. But yeah, really cool call here. And then the next change that we have is one that I think is pretty interesting, and it's taking out the Saber and testing Mace Windu's Saber. Ooh.
Yeah, so a couple thoughts here. A lot like Chewie, there's a lot of upgrade removal out there.
Yeah.
And I rarely wanted to take a shot at throwing a Darksaber down.
Yep.
And even when I did, I got a hit in and then it would get removed, maybe. And sometimes one hit's all you need, right?
Sure.
But there's just too many times where it was either too risky or, you know, it didn't last, right? Mace Windu's Saber feels less bad if it gets taken away. I'm only paying 2. You're going to pay 1 for confiscate to take it away. If that happens, that happens. It also doesn't eat up my whole turn. I could play the Saber, you know, on the 4 resource turn plus the 2 drop, or the 5 turn 2+3. Another thing that I was thinking about here is that it's also heroic. So it's helping with my for a cause numbers, right? If I'm going to bring in another Timely, I'm hurting my for a cause numbers. So this kind of helps counteract that sort of situation. So, you know, I haven't tried this one too much in paper yet, maybe a little bit online. It's more of a theoretical, but it's certainly something I want to try. Maybe it helps me go wide a little better too. There's a lot of times where I really wanted to go wide this weekend. So again, when I could do the 2+2, 2+3, that helps in those situations rather than the Darksaber eating up my whole turn.
Yeah, and this is an idea that I found as I was scrolling through like the melee results from over the weekend. I forget who it is, so shout out to whatever player it is if you see this video. My apologies, but I was like, oh, this is really interesting, because at the end of set 3, Kyle, we were both kind of playing a mixture of Darksabers and General's Blades, but at that point we were like, okay, we're just not playing for a cause anymore, right? Like, and they're just in the sideboard, and we'll maybe use it. With this, it's an interesting thing to test. And, you know, obviously we're not getting the text, but it's a 2-2 for 2. Like, you know, I'm cool with it. But overall, I think just from the outside, I would have loved to be there with you guys, but I think you had a great run. I think, you know, there's a lot of improvements to be made along the ways. Changes the way we practice as well. Just make sure that we're prepared for all these events. And just, I can't say enough about the progression of saying, hey, Denver wasn't good. Just being honest, you know, Richmond got better. Minneapolis got better from there. And then hopefully in Vegas, we'll have the best time of all. Okay, so now we got the top 8 coming up here with Wu taking it down with Qi'ra. Man, you know, the past couple weeks, all of our videos, we've really been talking about Data Vault, Qi'ra, and these things. And not that we're looking for any sense of like vindication, but that's really like what's going on right now. Like we're living in a Data Vault world, and people are operating to have a answer for Qi'ra. We'll talk about some of those here in a second. But yeah, I mean, we'll pull up the stats here, but I think it was 36.7% of all decks over the weekend were Data Vault. It's being played in leaders like the new Boba, Han 1 and 2, right? Like Kyle, I know one of the Han Greens you played was Data Vault. I was like, oh man, you're getting hit from all angles here, right? Obviously we've talked about Sabine, Cassie, and the ones that we've played, but here's Qi'ra.
I played 5 Data Vaults.
Yeah, that's it went from I played 5 Django's to I played 5 Data Vaults, right? And I didn't even mention Data Vault Ray, which is like, you got to have patience to play that deck. I don't think I have it within me. But here's Wu's deck. Shout out to him. He's really been working on this for a while. You can see all his YouTube content for it. Kyle, you're our resident Qi'ra expert. The thing that I see the most here is like, this is just a really tight list. We have Agent Callus being added as a 2 of. I think that's mostly for the mirror, right?
I love that play.
Yeah, that one there, Callus does a number of things, right? Actually, this is one that I talked to Wu about in Atlanta. You know, he was making some suggestions there, saying he was playing with it. It's actually funny. We were playing at the hotel, right, Sharkey, the night before, doing some testing, and I had busted out Qi'ra just to give some reps into his CAD, and had slapped down Callus a couple of times. So you know, it warmed my heart to see Callus in his list after he had talked about it in Atlanta, and then I'd taken the same, was already doing it. In fact, my list is only 2 cards. I think he's got this ambush ship I don't have, and he likes to run Confiscate main, which I do not. I'm happy to see Snoke back in the main. He did post a video about this today where he talks about a couple of these cards. I think some of them makes sense, specifically trying to answer this meta. I think he was well aware that this Vader yellow was going to be a thing. So some ambush ships, some Snoke, some ways to answer that. If you look at the numbers, Qi'ra lost more than it won into this Vader yellow deck. And if it becomes more popular, or if people see it as a way to potentially combat Qi'ra, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I'm already thinking of ways, hey, if I am going to play Qi'ra, how am I going to prepare for that deck, right? But to your question about Callus, what's he doing? Yeah, you're right. In the mirror, he's great, right? He just gives you another option on that 5 resource turn. They flip Qi'ra, you run Callus in, kill it. Remember, you're running a Data Vault deck, so you need more card draw. You need to be able to get to those cards in that deck. He helps you there too, right? So yeah, one of the most important turns in every Qi'ra deck is that flip turn. It's 5 resources. So not only is it flipping Qi'ra, but what does it do? What are you doing with those 5 resources? This is why we've seen the gunship be so effective. Yep. Overwhelming Barrage, obviously, is probably your best bet most of the times if you have it. But Callus gives you another one, another way to go. In those decks that run 3/5s, that sort of thing. You can flip Qi'ra, but maybe you don't want to run Qi'ra there. You're going to run Callus in and then hit Qi'ra somewhere else, right? So it makes a ton of sense. Obviously, he played the deck perfectly. I wish some of his mirrors actually had been streamed. I have the mental block in the mirror, just hating it so much that I'd like to just kind of see how he navigates it. He did talk about it a little bit, right? So obviously, the relentless lock is a good strategy. Hopefully you don't get to the mill game. Sounds like he didn't have to, but it's one of those, it's a slog of a matchup, that's for sure.
You guys just have to learn to embrace the suck. It is what it is. You play it and you tell yourself you love it until you convince yourself that you do, and then you'll be better off. There's a big period of depression in there, but then there's bright on the other side of the tunnel. So you mentioned the flip turn, right? You're always someone that has a backup. Like you love Long Pike, for instance, knowing as someone that I play with you a lot, right? You want to OB, you want to play a Callus, you want to do something really impactful on 5. But conversely, if you're playing against Qi'ra, that flip turn, whether it's on, your flip turn with my most experience being on Sabine with 4 or 5 in your standard flip, or Sharkey with you on 6 in CAD, where Qi'ra matches your flip. The reality is that right now decks are playing cards that are designed to deal with the Qi'ra flip that they wouldn't play in other situations. And just pulling them up real quick, the things that I found really interesting is just to start, like, Quinlan players are playing Hidden Sharpshooter. We'll talk about that in a little bit. It's been in the top 8. There was 2 Quinlan players. One played Hidden Sharpshooter in the side. The other was playing Rogue Operative, which I assume is for Qi'ra. And maybe the argument for Rogue Operative is that it's a saboteur that could kill Qi'ra as well, as opposed to having to go through a Sentinel, right? You got Open Fire being played in Sabine. Like, that's not a thing that happens very often.
That's weird.
Right? Han Solo's being played anyway, but it's just a great way to deal with Qi'ra, in other matchups, or whether it's my BS Kaz Blue deck that I play, or Han 1 green or something like that. And then you have Agent Callus too. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff going around that I think that's now one of the things you have to account for. It's like, okay, can you deal with Sabine's nonsense on the ground, right? Can you deal with Quinlan attacking your hand a couple months ago? Could you deal with this? Can you deal with that? I think the new thing right now is, can you deal with Qi'ra's flip?
Yeah, I totally agree. In fact, you saw that I have Open Fire in my sideboard.
Yep.
That was an ad. I actually brought Open Fire as a card with me in the box that was not in my deck list, but that I added kind of the night before. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I did, because in my Qi'ra matchup, Open Fire won me game 3, basically. He flipped Open Fire. I was able to then push the advantage, push damage, hit him again the next turn, and then he just never able to recover. So it's a great... Yeah, it's a great card. The sharpshooter one, though, that you were showing there, I actually played Mickey D in my final game. Meaningless at that point. We had both been eliminated from top 8 contention, but played it out anyway. And he brought in the sharpshooter, and that's really effective against Sabine, right? Because it's a 4-drop, it ambushes, kills Sabine with the ping without dying itself. Yeah. So that is a brutal answer. Mm-hmm. But it has the dual role of being useful into a Qi'ra flip.
Yeah, and I love seeing innovation like that. It doesn't matter what the best cards are. It matters what the best cards are for, like, right now, right? And you have to be able to be flexible. I think one of the things that I would reflect from if I was there, this is easier for me to say from the outside, right, is that I think you just got to be playing upgrade hate right now, right? In any form and fashion, whether it's 1 or 2, I think you just should have it in regardless what kind of deck you're playing. Okay, let's move to the runner-up here with Ray on Cad Bane Tarkintown. Not on vacation, Sharkey.
Not on vacation, and I really like this list. Interestingly, you might notice that it's very similar to the one I like to run.
Yep.
The biggest difference, actually, is the fact that it's 52-card main. That's a very interesting decision, and I think if I was to pick between mine and what this one does is he's got both sneak attack, and now there are 2 of them main deck in 3. Now there are 2s and 2 sneak attacks. That's very cool. He's running the Jabba Trick package, which we saw him make good use of in multiple streamed matches. I can't remember. I mean, he did it in the final. He did it against John Tata with the Ray deck he played right before that. I assume he did it to you too, Kyle. I don't know how your match went.
He did.
The other part is notice how many red cards there actually are in this deck.
In the main deck, there's none.
Right, there's only Champ, except the most important red card in a Cad Bane Tarkintown deck is Tarkintown.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't look a whole lot different from even the Lake Country deck that I was running, right? It just has a few things in there. I mean, I think the biggest difference is I actually don't run No Good to Me Dead. I have something else in that sideboard slot, and everything else is in my 60 outside of the extra couple cards he's got.
Yeah,
so I'm a big fan of how this deck looks.
I loved hearing about, oh man, I saw someone do a unrefusable offer to do a home run, and I was like, you don't know the half of it. You don't know how many records have been stolen in our testing.
So
Kyle,
many.
I think what we need to figure out is maybe in like 2 or 3 sets from now, Star Wars Unlimited launches the Lord of the Rings Decipher condition version for their game, right? So you could play Light Country and also a thing that pings a damage unit for 3. That'd be good, right?
Yeah, some sort of permanent on the board or something that sits to the side. We're going to get that at some point. I'm thinking that's how they're going to incorporate maybe Force Ghosts or something, some sort of side permanent thing that has some sort of conditional impact. We'll see. I'm sure they'll get creative over time.
So great run with CAD here. I mean, it really is showing how balanced the meta is. How like you could literally play everything under the sun if you're really good, if you know the deck really well.
I mean,
you know the lines.
Let's be real here. There's a couple of matches where I thought for sure he's going to have issues with, but he beat John Tata on Ray Data Vault twice. And being someone who got beat up by John Tata in the Swiss, that dude knows how to play that deck, and I have to go back and find the stream of the Data Vault match because it was grindy, and he won 2 matches, excuse me. So there's a lot to be said here that the pilot expression or the pilot skill expression is absolutely something you're seeing show up. And I mean, 4 of the top 8 were KTOD guys. Like clearly some of the best players are still showing up in the top with all different decks.
Yep.
So I like that. I like that a lot.
That's the reality of the situation. Okay, going through some of the other stuff here. We have Han Green coming in with Alex Grid. It's pretty standard here. No real changes that I can see, except maybe change a heart in the side. This is it's a great deck. What's the chuckles about? I mean, it is standard, right?
No. I love Han Green. I love playing it myself. I just don't love seeing it with Sabine. I was giving it the thumbs down because
I missed
Han Green ruined my weekend.
I ruined the joke. But yeah, seriously, that's part of the reason I've been playing other decks. I've been playing Han Green lately. Is that like I hate playing a deck that is like dead to one matchup. I know you could win, but it doesn't feel good, right? So that's bad. But yeah, this is a great deck. It's really fun to play, and obviously a great player with Alex Greatest. Going to the next one, we have this Ray Data Vault deck. Yeah, I don't know if I could do this one, guys. No,
man, it was a grind.
It's a great deck. It looks like it's really fun to play like 1 or 2 games of. But this is a lot. Like you're playing really late decks. There's a lot of cool random bullshit you could do on late turns, which is really fun. But like,
yeah, that's a good description.
Just from the outside, I just don't think this one's for me.
Oh, no. I wouldn't want to play this thing. I did play against it, and this was the longest game of my day. Like, it was legitimately the only deck that came to, or the only game, excuse me, that came to within 5 minutes of time. And it was just, it feels like it got answers, and it just keeps, just grinds you out of answers. I don't know how it continues on. I need to go study it for a bit. But
if you look at the match percentages, though, this deck got eaten alive by the Vader pilot deck.
Yep.
I think it was the worst match percentage out there. It seemed to me that if you're bringing this deck, you better hope you avoid those Vaders. They're probably gonna have to look at that matchup, and if you're going to be playing Ray, you're probably going to need to be figuring out ways to be a little bit better in that matchup, because if I recall, that one was brutal.
Yeah. So
at the time that I played John, he said it was his only loss.
Yeah. This is a new site that I found recently called SWU Base, and it has a lot of really cool data where you could separate day 1, day 2, top 8, and leader and base. And what you see here, and what you can show in a couple other charts that I pull up, is that Ray massively overperformed her representation to day 2 and beyond. I think, it's definitely good. There's no doubt about that. There's a lot of really cool things you can do. There's been so many cool innovations since Django's been banned, whether it's the Han stuff. I mean, Han2 Data Vault's probably a rise you could attribute to some of the Tarkentown stuff dwindling a little bit, but do you think Django would have held down this Ray deck because it's based on all these wingies? You're just board wiping it every turn. Yeah,
Yeah, I think for sure, right? Because a lot of what they're doing down there is restoring from the ground or trying to swarm at you. And Django loved to eat that stuff, right? It would tap you down, it would ping them all, it would juggernaut you, that sort of thing. So, I think it would have eaten this deck up.
Yeah. So here on SWUbase.com, just for Ray's winning percentages, 70% into Sabine, 56%, almost 57% into Qi'ra. Got really beat up by this Darth Vader, 23.1%. Then you have 61% into Han Solo Green. I assume, I don't have it set up I could do leader and base, and we could dive even deeper. That's one of the really cool things about this site. There's been so many cool big data sites that have popped up. SWU competitive.
Yeah, I love it.
SWUmeta.net, now SWU base. Like I'm having a really good time diving into it. But yeah, I think this raid deck's really cool. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think we're going to see it stick around for quite a while. Might even be live as we go into the next set with the rise of some of these smaller force units. You put that Gunji in that deck, beef it up.
Man,
that's a nice play, eh? So going after this one, last thing about this raid deck is that good to see Cargo Juggernaut making a reappearance into the equation here. It's real strong, shielded unit, get some heals going as well. Going to these Quinlan decks, we have, like we said, the Hidden Sharpshooter plus Sanctioner Shuttle. I think that's kind of like a must right now in yellow, just to take some of those problem units off the board. One note here is that I think Quinlan's fallen back into its like rightful place where it's not the top deck anymore. It probably couldn't survive being there, and it's probably better off for that being the result. I mean, Kyle, do you think right now Quinlan, what would you say? Quinlan's a top 5 deck?
Yeah, borderline, right? That deck is it's one of those decks that it doesn't have any good matchups, but it doesn't really have any bad matchups. It's really one of those decks where pilot expression, I think, can get you through, right? If you know what you're doing and you're good at piloting it, it's going to get there. And that proved out in the results. There was 2 Quinlans in the top 8, right? That makes it the most represented deck in the top 8.
Yeah.
So obviously good pilots can get you there.
Yeah.
However, if you look at it overall in the field, it did outperform expectations. That's not something we've seen in the data the last few times. It's actually been, underperforming. So it was a little bit up this time. I think some of that might be that people are teching away from it or preparing a little bit less for it, that sort of thing. So it's going to have its opportunity. It's going to be a solid deck. It has its, it has its ins. It has decks it can beat. So it's not dead, but I still wouldn't put it in the top 3 or 4. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think this Vader deck probably, kind of squeezes.
I think it bumped it.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
Another thing that's really cool about this site is that you could sort it by day 2 player matches. So basically taking the best players in the field, the players who were playing the best that weekend, and then adjusting those percentages. And what we kind of see here is that Quinlan was 80% into Qi'ra, which is very surprising to me.
Wow.
Right? Quinlan was 67% into Han Solo Data Vault. That must not be that many matches, because I imagine there's only like a couple players playing Han 1 Data Vault. Then we see into Darth Vader, beat him up as well, 60% into Darth Vader. So a lot of stuff there that is really interesting to see. Really invite you guys to go check out SWUbase.com. All right, as we go on to the other leaders here, this one really stood out to me, man. Han2 Blue back in the mix, some really cool cards here. I mean, the Phantom 2. I was asking myself, why is he playing this? And he's a 5/1. A 5/1 on turn 1. It's just beautiful. Any big thoughts here until we go to the next one?
I believe this is the one that Alex actually ran into, and it was somewhat teched for Vader already because of the fact that he ran into a bunch of Vaders in testing.
Yeah.
I could be mistaken as to whether it's being the right one, but things like Obi's Ether Sprite and the Perilous Positions being main deck are at least hinting towards being ready for that kind of a matchup, especially with all the little ships that you have to go destroy.
Totally. Then we got Chrono from KTOD on his Sabine list. Some great matches you can watch on stream on Sea Raptor. Really strong player here. Nothing too out of the realm. The first thing that stood out to me was the Rebel Pathfinder. But, it's another good unit to have. Goes through shields and sentinels. I think it's just having some flexibility to aggressively mulligan for a better hand. As we go through again here, this is the list we spoke about that wasn't playing Hidden Sharpshooter, but had Rogue Operative instead. Like Kyle said, most represented deck in the top 8 with 2 players, and I think there was like 4% in the field overall. So just like absolutely smash that. And then, obviously Qi'ra is the star of the weekend, but I think like the dark horse of the weekend, and I can't load the visual view on Melee for whatever reason, is Yellow Killer and the rest of the Bothan network team really working on this Darth Vader deck and having some great success with it, Sharkey.
Yeah, they put in some good work, and our buddy, friend of the locals here, Jeff Creasy, was also on it. Both of them, he and Carlos ended up 9 and 10 on this Vader, or a very similar Vader yellow deck. Excuse me. Yeah. They all had been putting in the testing work. I saw them all huddling together, talking about sideboarding, matchups, things to do in each thing, and they put a lot of work in. They did their homework. It paid off. They had I want to say 4 or 5 of them in the top 20, which while they may not have made the top 8, that's a lot of people to pack into a top 20 of a standings, especially when there's 650 people in this event. And they showed that this deck can hang. It's very strong.
Yeah, great deck. It's a fun deck to play. You were playing it at the last showdown or a couple showdowns ago that we were at. A really, really fun build. They were tweaking it though a little bit, right, Kyle? Making sure that they were a little bit more resilient in the mirror, resilient from pinging as well.
Yeah, that's right. I want to see how this deck holds up. I the Bothans specifically were very secretive, about this deck leading up to the event, right? I think they were trying to catch people by surprise. And I think a big part of that was this deck's good into Qi'ra, right? Yeah. Qi'ra had issues in previous sets. I've played a lot of Qi'ra. I was always scared of the Boba Red. Boba Red was a problem. Django was a problem. That's what held down Qi'ra. That's why Kira's back now. Any of these sort of kind of spaced focused attacks are where Qi'ra struggles, right? We don't have a lot of space. We need OB to clear some of that stuff. The Lurking TIE Phantom is scary, right? So, getting that Vader yellow and kind of trying to, take that angle to beat some of these Qi'ras or beat some of these kind of, soft control type decks, I think is really smart. I think maybe that's where we're going to see some staying power here. With Wu winning on Qi'ra, more people are going to go, I could play Qi'ra, right? Yeah. Well, maybe you'll get eaten up by these Vaders, right? We'll see. I will be interested though, now that the cat's out of the bag, right? We talked a lot about Vader, but my list was, I guess I wasn't as innovative there. My list was a decent amount different than what this is looking like. Now that people see what this list is like, kind of how it plays, how do you prepare for it? I know that in my Qi'ra list, I was already running perilous position main board. Yeah. Maybe Wu was playing the 4-1 ambushing ship, right? So people are going to be prepared. They're going to have some more main board answers or at least sideboard answers so that it's not quite as surprising. But I think it's here to stay. I think at least, until we get to this next set, this deck's not going away. This one's not one of those decks that pops up once and disappears. Maybe like the Akbars.
Yeah, and the barrier to entry for this deck is pretty low from a price perspective and from a gameplay perspective. It's not it's not that it's simple and easy, but it's not overly complicated and complex. It's a really, really great, strong budget deck. I think that's great to have in the format as well. And yeah, there'll be some changes. Another shout out to the Yoda Killer Hyperspace Cube channel. They put out a cool video today with Lego Pizzi and Klein, Frank Hopton as well, talking about the deck to some of the finer points. You'd really dive in there. But
yeah, you should definitely check that out.
Oh, absolutely. We'll put the link in the show notes for you guys. But as you think about this, I think the key is really just stopping that generation train. Leave it. If you want to leave a token on the board, that's fine. But you want to do your best to make sure that you're stopping that momentum as quickly as humanly possible. But yeah, great run. Really happy for Carlos, as well as Jeff getting their buys to Vegas. Sharkey, you gotta get to work. Speaking of, not this week, but next week, you got our next chance. We all got a PQ down in Colorado Springs. Maybe this weekend Sharkey was toying about going to Utah as well. I think I'm getting too old for it. We'll see how it works out. But got this PQ coming up. What should we be playing? Sharkey, we'll role play and pretend you're going to Utah. What will you be playing this weekend? What do you think the move is, right? So right now, Qi'ra is the deck. Kyle, starting with you, is that the deck you would play next weekend, or would you still be on Sabine?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be on Sabine just because I don't like to play the same deck in 2 major tournaments in a row, right? I just want to play something different.
Remove that from the thing here in this hypothetical role play session that we're doing. And just question. So, hey Kyle, next week would you be on Sabine, or what deck would you be confident telling somebody to play right now?
Yeah. Okay, so Qi'ra I think is the top dog. Not just because it won this last tournament, but because it's the most consistent. If you look at the numbers, it has the most positive matchups, right? But there's a deck out there trying to hunt it down, and that's Vader. And I think we're going to see more of this Vader yellow. So you could run into some tough matchups. It's secondary to that. What would I be looking at? I haven't played the Vader yellow deck and I want to give it a go. So I think for me, those would be 2 strong decks to try. This Han Data Vault deck is interesting. It also has game into Qi'ra with the go wide kind of aggressive strategy. So I think it could be very effective. And it's not dead to Vader yellow like it appears that the Ray deck is. Yeah. As long as I'm talking about Han2 Data Vault, by the way, I wanted to make sure I was doing shout outs. One of our half dozen viewers, lights out.
We have more than half dozen viewers.
Yeah.
was there. Actually, I played him on day 2 on his Han2 Data vaults, and he got me 2-1. So it's funny. We were in the comments talking about like, what do you think the matchups look like for there? And he did mention he thinks he has a very good matchup into Sabine, and then showed me that that's true. So
yeah, he's a great guy. Been showing us a lot of sports since we've been getting started. Really appreciate that. We were chatting in the KTOD Discord about some Han2 Data Vault, which, spoiler alert, that's the deck that I think I would suggest right now. And Sharkey will hit you up with your thoughts afterwards. But we'll pull up SWUMeta.net here, and they have a great matrix here. What I really love about it is if you look across the board, man, it's not that bad, right? Like, I guess coin flip into Qi'ra, positive into Sabine, positive into Vader, 35% into Han Green, which doesn't feel amazing, but whatever. Ignore that for the sake of the argument. Coin flip into Ray Data Vault. Like, I like not being dead to everything, and some of the ping decks will obviously be a problem, and that's something to think about. And around here, I got to avoid Sharkey if that's the case, right? Because the pings will be coming with CAD. But I think that's a really fun deck, and I think it was really well represented. It was really represented on day 1 and 2. I think it was the fourth most popular, the third most popular, fourth behind Vader, I think. And then on day 2, it was overrepresented over his percentage. So yeah, I've been putting some time into it. I'm gonna be playing that. I have no self-control, so I purchased a showcase over the weekend and some shiny Hyperspace cards. So we'll see how that goes. Sharkey, in this hypothetical role play environment in which maybe you're playing Cad Bane, maybe you're not, what deck would you suggest to people?
So I continue with the suggestion of Han2 Data Vault so I can run them over with CAD. No, but realistically, I think going into any kind of a tournament, you should play what you know the best. And given the short timeline of that one, I'd probably run one of the CAD decks, whether it's Tarkin Town or Lake Country. I'm not 100% sure yet. But the backup deck for me would be the Darth Vader yellow deck that I also have a lot of experience with now and have made some adjustments based on both the Bothan's current deck that they ran, as well as talking to both Jeff and Carlos about what they would change with it. So I would probably go with one of those two if I was to pick tomorrow. Though if I'm picking one to just go have some fun that can sometimes spike it, is one of the red-green hero Data Vault decks.
You guys are both really bad at this thought experiment thing. I gotta be honest. You're killing me. You're killing me.
I'm picking like 4 decks, but like if I'm picking one right now, it's it's Cad Bane. Like I know that one like the back of my hand. So like I'm trying to expand it outside of my normal Cad Bane answer.
Yeah, that's the reality. But yeah, just great stuff overall. Really fun. Wish I was there with you guys this weekend. A lot of cool trajectory stuff for the meta, and we're just getting closer and closer to Legends of the Force. I've already got my pre-orders in. I'm getting ready, thinking about it. We got some people in the Discord already brewing. Probably, I think we gotta buckle down after this next PQ coming up, most likely, and really get to work on that. So we're ready for Vegas. One more chance to get a buy for you, Sharkey. Maybe 2. We'll see how the schedule goes in Utah. But really good stuff as we get deep into the jump to light speed meta. Okay, anything else? Any final notes? Anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, maybe just a couple more shout outs, right? Coming out of Minnesota. I didn't weave them all in well, so I'm just going to call them out now.
Weave away.
It was nice to meet Gabe, the Akbar player. Gabe and his mom were awesome. Both playing. I believe she was playing Qi'ra, right? They were both there. I thought they were really awesome to hang out with. Got to meet a lot of new people. Got to reconnect with the KTOD guys. Got to see Mike, Justin. Back when I met them or knew them, Maddie wasn't on the scene yet, a little too young to be participating in tournaments. So I actually got to meet him for the first time and in real life. But as far as the event goes, I just want to say again to FFG, much, much better this time, right? I thought it was more well run. We had vendors, we had food, right? The prices of things were better, right? I'd still maybe take a look at the ticketing for people who decide to play all the way through the event, right? You can't participate in the side events. You can't really get tickets, right? And you could probably do a little bit better there, and I'm sure they will. But the side events, one that I played in that I thought was awesome. I don't know that I'll ever do this again, but they did a carbonite sealed, right? So it's like $150 to enter. So, I don't know how often you're going to do that sort of thing, but I did participate, right? That was cool. And pulled a showcase. This is the first showcase I've ever opened myself, right? So I'm very excited about this.
Are you serious? Going back to set 1?
That's right.
Yeah.
My wife
Wow.
plays too. We always
Yeah.
open our packs together, and she has opened every single showcase we've opened. So I finally got to feel what it's like to open a pack and see a showcase in it. So
She's the
that was
brains
pretty
and the
cool.
luck of the family. I
Oh
suppose,
yeah,
right?
I don't understand it. The packs they're not in my packs.
But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, that's great. And you know, not to call you out, but you wrote a not, I wouldn't say heated, it was pretty level-headed review of your experience at Denver, right? And you clearly had valid points. And I think whether it's your points, other people's points, our friend and teammate Space Bear was talking about some of those issues right after the event in that interview with I forgot the guy's name from FFG, but
Ron.
like, yeah, the Ron, the feedback has been taken, right? And the thing is that when you do an event in Vegas, man, you gotta come big. You gotta make sure, because the thing about Vegas, and you know, I'm a consultant now. I used to work in like the fantasy sports and sports betting industry, so I would go to Vegas pretty often for conferences and different events and stuff. And one of the things about Vegas over the past like 4 or 5 years is that it's operated from, hey, like you'll get some free stuff, you'll do this, you'll do that, into let's suck and drain every last cent out of your pocket in every different area. And I think one of the great things about this sort of event is it has an opportunity to be like the reprise from that, the place where everybody's just having a good time, excited about everything, drowning in showcases, making it rain with tickets and doing all that good stuff, you know?
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Sharkey, any final notes for you?
I got to interact briefly with Ron actually at the show. He was talking to Jeff, and I was there with him, and he's very excited about Galactics in a way that he said he could not get them to move for like the regionals or the sectors. Sure. So it does sound like he knows. So I commend them for that. That was a very fun event. This is the most fun I've had playing SWU since our Atlanta trip, and it was a great time overall. It was fun hanging out with all the Bothans that we already know. I mean, we've named half of them already. C Raptor, I want to shout out because it was very fun to play on his stream. Very cool to interact with, like ahead of the thing. I don't know who else I have to shout out, but everybody was awesome to interact with. It was a good time.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe if we get up to
go ahead, go.
Yeah, maybe if we get up to 7 viewers and that 7th viewer is an FFG person. I heard that while they were out there, some of the different content creators got to record, got to hold some of the cards from the new set and record their reveals. So, if that 7th viewer ends up being an FFG person, give me that card.
We're probably too behind the 8 ball for Legends of the Force, but Secrets of Power will have to be our goal. And then we'll see. Do we want to be bad and play stream games on here, or just do the setup? You'll have to stick around to find out. More gameplay coming in the future, more podcasts, more nonsense coming from the three of us. So for Kyle and Sharkey, I'm Jordan. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Peace.